Talk about, from my perspective, are kind of the EDI in the sense that kind of what we do here with EDI that we talk about. I'm not going to talk a whole bunch about that. That would be relevant for you as an audience, but really the mobile technologies that we're getting into. That's what we really focus on. And in fact, we have an application that is based on mobile technology. Now, I want to get into some research and predictions. Like I said, I stole this from the Gartner Group, and I need you guys to, stay a little bit warm. Don't sit on your hands so much. But they did in 2011. They always do this. If you've ever seen Gartner's presentations, yes, ma'am. They always do this every year, and they talk and they do a research of the top 10 technologies that they see for a given year. And like I said, I stole this slide, but the important part of this is, if you look at the third one, mobile technologies, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, the kicker to it is, I assume most of you are not propeller heads, like we talked about. So I'm going to talk about some of these. Cloud computing, that is the wonderful, hyped-up buzzword of the decade. Cloud computing has a lot of different things, but basically it means that you're running your application out on someone else's server. Virtualization means that you're stealing, robbing Peter to pay Paul. That means you're putting technology, multiple servers, on one physical box, is what virtualization is about. Those first two are really infrastructure types of technologies. Mobile is a very interesting type of technology. Anybody, what would you guys define as mobile? Let's start there. Is mobile cell phones? Is mobile laptops? Is it tablets? Is it remote desktop? Does anybody know what a remote desktop is? Okay? Mobile, in my definition, means that I'm able to move and work on any device, anywhere I want. Now, this notebook that I run on is probably about 6 years old. It's a Xeon processor. I think it was running XP. It actually says XP on the desktop. I think I upgraded it to Vista. That's how old it is. It says made for XP. So that means it's a very old machine. Why would I, being in IT, have that kind of machine? Because I am now having a small footprint, and mobile technology means I can get to anything I need to, application-wise, all from this small machine. And in reality, what we're going to talk about today is I can actually get to it from here. That's where I want to get to. Okay? The predictions that Gartner came up with were based on what they call the 6 different styles of money-making CIOs. They are the entrepreneurial type of CIO. That's the guy that says, I'm going to build it and they will come. The type of the CIO that's out there. The cost optimization CIO. Now you said you're a CIO. Which one of these 6 do you think you'd fall into? Where you're trying to cut costs, sales? Are you looking at innovation where you're the innovator? Are you the business development? Or are you, I doubt you're public serving where you're working with the government.
Yeah, probably business development.
Business development. I find in today's economy, most CIOs are number 2. Because the economy is, revenues aren't there, everybody's trying to figure a way to cut costs. And that's what they base their predictions on. Now this next slide's going to scare you a little bit, but here's the top predictions from Gartner in 2011. And it ranges all the way from the first one that says, a G20 nation's critical infrastructure will be disrupted and damaged by an online sabotage by 2015. What are they saying there? It means that some terrorist is going to get in and sabotage our infrastructure. All the way down to 10% of your online friends will be non-human. Okay? The ones we're going to talk about are the ones that I've got checked here, 4 of them. 3 of them are related to mobile. 1 is something that I want to think about that was interesting I saw in an action. This first one here I want to talk about. I live in Colorado Springs. And there was just a brand new announcement out there that there's a new data center going in. Now we already have FedEx for a data center. We already have, I'm trying to think of some of the others we have, but we have several data centers. There's a brand new data center coming in. They're going to spend something like $630 million in this data center. And it's going to ultimately cost, when it's all said and done, it's going to be an ungodly amount of dollars. They're going to get great revenues. How many employees do you think it's going to hire? How many employees is this data center actually going to generate for this wonderful thing we call unemployment right now? How many employees are going to get hired by this data center?
50.
How many people say less than 10? Between 10 and 100? Between 100 and 1,000? Okay, 30. Range of salaries, they're going to be anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 per year is what they're going to have for salaries for those 30 people. What this is basically saying, I think we all realize this, is that the industry, and especially the economy is such, that you're going to see, it says up here, that you're going to increase, that the increased recognized IT spending per head will increase by 60%. What that means is you're going to spend a lot more money per person in your employment, because go back to the days of what we used to call in macroeconomics, you have the choice between capital and labor. Because of the unemployment, you don't want to put it in labor, you're going to put it into IT. And that's basically what they're saying. And down at the bottom says what to do. Basically says both IT and business leaders are accountable to co-sponsor. Basically the bottom is plan for it. So with that being said, you're going to have less people, and more likely you're going to have more people out on the road. How are we going to go through this next one? 50% of web sales will come from their social presence and mobile applications. Now, how many people in here have a website that generate revenue? I mean, I know you may not be, but you have a website that you sell stuff on. Remember back in 1996 that was the big thing because the internet came out, let's go get a web storefront and all those kinds of things. Now, more likely what you're seeing is that probably somewhere between 5 and 15% of your revenue is being generated from the website, right? Here's the interesting part. Of that 5 to 15%, which is probably going to grow, 50% of it's going to come from a social presence, meaning Facebook, Twitter, all those other things. So what do they say? Get into mobile trials. Start getting into working with your mobile devices. Find out what your mobile customers want. Okay, multiple customers as in the users of the mobile devices. And then also use analysis tools, social graphs to monitor your market. We're going to talk a little bit about Facebook. If you want to go, and this is not a plug, but if you go to facebook.com/Grey Wolf Systems, you will see our webpage under Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook webpage today, you need to get one. And we're going to talk about it from a mobile device as well here in a minute. Okay? Next prediction. By 2014, 90% of organizations will support corporate applications on personal devices. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about who owns these personal devices, but they're going to be on some sort of a personal device. That being said, you better figure out, evaluate the impact of personal devices on application architectures, and determine and pursue a cross-platform application development strategy. Meaning you need to get your applications not only on, people still running green screens, by the way, dumb terminals? Okay? That's so 1980s, as the kids would say. Okay? You're going to have to start figuring out how do you get that same information that are on the green screens, get it to the mobile device. Last one. 80% of businesses will support a workforce using tablets. Now, we'll talk about what the difference is in form factors and those kinds of things here in just a minute. But the concept is not just going, this by definition is a tablet. Okay? Let's make sure we understand that. We'll talk about that. And this slide, we're getting into the architecture. Here's what's happened with the form factor. The form factor has gone from, if you go up, it's going basically whether it's a hybrid, an open face, slate, tablet. This is by definition an open face. It doesn't close up. Now what the others are what they call closed face or clamshells. And then it goes to different sizes, small, medium, and large. You know, there's the wonderful, we're going to talk about the iPad. There's the wonderful hype that goes into the iPad. But the iPad's not the only tablet out there. By definition, this is a tablet. It's just a matter of the size. And what we're starting to see is hybrid mobile products. How many people have an iPod for music? If everybody doesn't raise their hand, I'm going to be surprised. Who doesn't have an iPod? Okay. Those that have an iPod, do you use it in your car? How do you use it today?
On the airplane.
Okay, but how do you use it in your car today?
Plug it in the sailor.
Plug it into the actual jack that comes out of your car? My car is a 2008 Acura. It doesn't have that. I have to use one of the cassette pieces, stick it in there, and plug it in that way. But what's happening is now we're starting to see that hybrid, that the iTouch, the iPad, the iTunes, all that's all coming together, and it's going into the same places. And if you look at this picture, how many people have gotten an alcoholic beverage and seen the tablet screen where the wait person is actually working off of it? Okay? We're starting to see that it's all coming together, that this whole concept of mobile products are becoming hybrid. Okay, I wanted to ask a question before. Everybody, who does not have a cell phone on them today? Okay, I figured as much. Pull it out. I want you to tell me, you're going to raise it up. This is kind of like in football. You know, if you're a football fan, you get adamant about it. If you're a St. Louis Rams fan, you're going to be adamant about it. Now we're going to find out how adamant you are about your phone. How many people here have an Android? Raise them high. Come on, you got to be proud of your device. Okay? How many people here have, it's called iOS. What does iOS stand for? I don't care what, actually, I don't even know what it stands for. What is it? It's the iPhone. It's the Apple operating system. How many people have iPhones? You guys are the cult. Okay? My prediction, I don't think Apple's going to be around in about 10 years since Jobs is leaving, in my opinion. And that's a cult. We'll see it. We'll look at the market share. Look at the market share on iOS. It's down still only at about 15%. And that's the biggest market share. Okay, but people love their iPhones. I got a buddy of mine. He will not give up his iPhone for anything. Okay? We'll talk about the Android here in a minute. How many people have a Palm OS? Palm device. If you do, I really feel sorry for you. Okay? If you look at that one, this one kills me. Here is the chart. Here's the line for that one, right here. Okay? They have dropped down to nothing.
I tried to sell mine. I couldn't get money for it.
I bet you couldn't sell it on eBay for 50 cents. Okay? How many people have a RIM OS? What is RIM? BlackBerry. Raise it. Come on, get proud of your BlackBerries. I had a BlackBerry. Okay? This is an Android, by the way. Okay, I've gone to Android. Now, what you'll notice on the RIM is it's starting to drop off as well. Okay? Now, Symbian. How many people have a Symbian device? Does anybody know what Symbian is? Symbian, by the way, is this line right here. Nokia. Thank you. It's actually in the European marketplace. Who just bought Symbian? Microsoft. Okay? Be really interesting. We'll have the next slide. We'll talk about it. We won't talk about WebOS or mobile. Anybody have a mobile device, Windows mobile device in here?
I'm the one.
The one. Two. You've got two. It'd be interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Here's what's happening with those devices. Look at this one. Who owns Android? You said it a minute ago. Thank you. Okay? Google owns Android. Why is it that Android's going to do so well? What's the biggest reason Android's doing so well?
It looks like an iPhone.
You have an iPhone, don't you? Open what? Open source. What does open source mean?
Anybody can write apps.
And it's an open environment. It's free. It's basically the developer's marketplace. What's the good side about it? It's open. It's free. Anybody can write to it. What's the downside? It's open. Okay? That means it's not supported. It's not proprietary. There's not a lot of standards associated with it. There's some challenges with it. Probably the biggest issue with it is the potential for viruses and getting hacked into because it is open. So when you get an Android, you're taking a risk. And we're going to talk about that with the MDM stuff here in a minute. Okay? But look at this. Symbian's been #1, and they're starting to drop off. But Microsoft Windows Phone, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when Microsoft takes it over and starts working with it. And the same thing again, Windows Phone. We're going to see what happens between the Windows mobile devices and Symbian. And that's going to be the interesting play that's coming out. Okay? Apple, #3. Here's the kicker. Exclusive and fashionable. They're a cult. Okay? If you have an Apple, God forbid anybody else tells you it's wrong. Okay? Because you are proud of your Apple. Okay, I've got two daughters in college. Okay, they're in the business school. Freshman year, my daughter says, I have to have an Apple machine. I said, no, you don't. She says, yeah, I do. The school wants me to have an Apple machine. No, you don't. She's now in the business school. She's in her junior year. Dad, I'm glad I didn't have an Apple machine. Why? Because it doesn't run business applications. It's a toy. Okay? Apple's a great, fashionable type of an operating system and a machine. It's great. They've got to figure out now how they become more of a business as opposed to being a cult. Okay, I sat in on this session. Now, based on what I just told you, this was the poll that Gartner put out there. And they asked this question. So based on what we saw, what we should see out of this is that the RIM BlackBerry probably has the largest volume. Android would have been next, Apple would have been last. Now, why is it, before I give you the answers on this, why is it that BlackBerry is struggling? What are the issues with the BlackBerry devices? And they are struggling. What is the issue? You've got a BlackBerry. Do you like it? Will you ever give it up? Okay. You say yes.
I hated my BlackBerry.
Why?
It's so difficult to use.
Okay.
I went to my Apple and my iPhone, it was like, I thought, this is a treat.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm the opposite of him. I hate my iPhone.
I love it.
I would much rather have my BlackBerry. This is a great phone for my son in college. It doesn't do mail, calendar, contacts, all the things that are really important to me as a business person.
Thank you. You're absolutely right about the Apple on that. And BlackBerry, they do extremely well with the business world. And in fact, they say that 80% of the financial institutions are still running on BlackBerry. Where have they missed? They missed on the touch screen. They still have that little ball, that trackball, or the little thing that you have to move. Is that the new Storm?
This is the
Touchpad?
Torch.
Okay. Torch. Okay. That's good, but they still have, and I like what they call a quirky keyboard. I like it personally. This happens to be a Motorola device. It's a Droid. It's a Droid Pro. But the biggest thing about the BlackBerry that they're struggling with, how many people in here use BlackBerry to synchronize their email and their contacts with their Exchange server back at the office? Okay? How much does do you guys even have a clue of how much that software costs to run that? It's very expensive. We're talking about thousands of dollars for your organization to be able to do it. And that's just the reason they're having a problem. Because they were known for email and contact synchronization. The problem was they did it in a proprietary fashion. That's why they're struggling right now. Here's the results of the survey. This was online. 55% say they're running an Apple. Blew me away. I took a screenshot. That was a screenshot of what was going on. But the Android is really starting to grow. And we'll talk about some of the applications and those kinds of things. But they say for business, the BlackBerry is probably one of the strongest ones out there. Let's talk about 3G versus 4G. Okay, how many people are on Verizon? How many people are on AT&T? How many people are on Sprint or one of the others? Do you guys like Sprint?
Yeah.
Really?
Our corporate mandates it.
I've heard it's nasty.
It's fun. Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun.
12 years.
Okay. I only did the two major ones, which were Verizon and AT&T, and I did an interesting deal here. Everybody's heard about 3G versus 4G, right? How many people have a 4G device already in their hands? How many people have a 4G in their hands right now that are actually using 4G? You must live in some major metropolitan New York?
Atlanta.
Atlanta, okay. Here is a picture of what Verizon's voice and messaging chart looks like in their coverage. Looks good, doesn't it? This is what they always show you.
Now.
Huh?
This is 4G right now. Right here.
In St. Louis, which show are you on?
Sprint.
Okay. Like I said, I didn't grab that one. But let me show you something here. Here's the voice and messaging for Verizon. This is where you get cell phone service. Here's what you get data service look like. Now let me go back real quick. Watch the white. And here's the kicker. Only the dark spots for Verizon. Here, here, here. Those are the only spots. There's one, there's one. I'm trying to look and see. I guess St. Louis would be right here, so there's one. So we're in a 4G area for St. Louis. That's the only 4G areas. How many ads have you seen on 4G? But But the reality is, it's not there. Well, it's not just Verizon. This is the map from theirs. The data is the light blue. I'm sorry, 3G is the light blue. The dark blue is where their 4G is. And their 4G LTE, which they make a big deal about, it's these little yellowish spots. It's amazing how much hype is out there. I live in Colorado Springs. Buy a 4G device. Buy a 4G device. But you can't use it because we don't have 4G here yet. So I went to 3G. Why would I pay the money? Because in 2 years, when my contract runs out, I did, by the way, I went to Verizon, just got this phone about 6 months ago, didn't pay a nickel. Okay? If you're paying money for your cell phone, you can probably negotiate it. You probably should be able to do it. Unless the company's paying for it, and then it's outside your control, obviously. All right, let's talk about security. This is where the Android falls. Okay? What this is, again, a Gartner chart, it's showing you over on the left of the less intrusive types of things that you have to do to control the device. In other words, put yourself in the IT, put yourself in the CIO's position. What are you going to do with your sales reps? What are you going to do in operations with the guys in the warehouse or whoever you give this to? How are you going to keep control? Is there going to be paper policy? In other words, I put on paper, you cannot use this phone to go on to Match.com or onto Facebook or anything else during the working day. Or are you going to control it with a heavyweight MDM type technology? You're going to put the software out there that controls it. Better yet, has anybody thought in here what happens if your phone gets stolen? You lost your phone, you left it on the desk, and one of your competitors happens to be in this room, and they got your phone. You think they're going to give it back to you? What are they going to do? I'm not saying everybody's this way, but if you got contacts on it, they're going to take them. They're going to look at them before they call you up and say, hey, you got your phone. You got to think about it. One of the things that comes into play is that you can actually have an ability to have a control-oriented type of an environment that if you lose a phone, and Windows Mobile is actually probably one of the best ones in this. You lose your phone, you can get on a computer, key in and say format, and it'll wipe the device free remotely. Okay? That's what you start getting into this MDM and security. Here's the interesting thing. 80% of new phones are smartphones with no standards in the organization. I want you to really think about that comment for a minute. Especially if you're thinking about not just phones for yourself, but phones for your organization. Because how do you manage, if you're the CIO, how do you manage 80% of your new phones that have no standards to it? Now you got a challenge. Untested devices like tablets. In other words, who's tested them? How many people have brought in the latest iPad and made sure it's going to work and not bring down the network? Okay? I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but basically, MDM is something you've got to think about as well as security, because this is an open device. I've got some challenges with it as an IT organization. Here are the main elements of MDM. You got software pieces, an inventory. In other words, how do I inventory what I've got out in the field? And then I've got security. Here's that remote wipe I was talking about. Do you have the ability to do a remote wipe on a machine, on a device that gets lost? Especially if we're going to start talking about the 3 different types of applications. If you start getting into business applications, like he was saying over here, you get into business applications, how are you going to control that someone doesn't have access to that machine? It's no different than a PC that someone's got the password and gets into your green screen environment. All right, let's talk about applications. Let's see how we're doing on time here. Okay. I'm not going to be able to spend as much time on this as I hope. I will be glad to work with a lot of you on this. Nope, here's where I want to go first. There are 3 types of applications I'm going to show you today. And again, just a real starting point. You know, in 15 minutes to talk about mobile applications, I'm not going to be able to get through all of it. But there's infrastructure. In other words, how do I handle the operating system? What kind of applications? I'm going to talk about some of those here in a minute. Personal type, things are for me personally. And then business types of applications. So let's talk about the infrastructure type first. I'm going to show you talk about 2 of these primarily. Security and permissions. In an Android, it's called rooting. You have the ability to root your machine, which what that means is you set it up so that it's got permissions to do anything I want. For me to be able to do this display cell phone on a PC, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, I had to root my device. What that means is I change the security, and there are applications out there that will change the security on your device to open it up. What's the advantage? It means I get to run a lot of applications. The disadvantage? I just open it up to a user that may not know what the hell they're doing, and they just give it a 2-year-old 45. And he just shoots himself in the foot. So you got to be really careful on those kinds of things. We'll talk about it. How many people know that you can actually use your cell phone as a modem? How many people have actually done it? More than I expected. You know, I was in DIA flying out here. I was very surprised that they now have free wireless. But for a period of time, I just moved, and my wonderful friends at Quest did not have internet to my townhouse. What did they do? They said, we don't have the cable there. You're going to be down for 2 weeks. I'm in the business. I got to be able to get on. So I used my cell phone as actually my internet hotspot. And I was able to plug it in, and I was able to run everything from my cell phone. Okay? I'm not going to show you that one. Yes, sir.
On the first point there, you know, there's these go-to meetings and variety of remote software that allows you to look at a PC. Can you do the same kind of thing with cell phones?
Yep, you're going to see it in just 30 seconds here. Okay, personal applications. These are the things we're talking about. Weather, news, games and fun, social networking. I'm going to show you a little bit of those, but just a handful. So, now hopefully this doesn't break. You know how you do demos and you test and you test and you test? All right, hang on here. Make sure I'm started. Okay, it's already running. Good. Cool. Okay. Nothing up my sleeve. My cell phone is on the screen right there. You're looking at it. I'm going to change from page to page. Okay? So you're actually seeing what's on my device on the screen right now. So theoretically, if you have the right network infrastructure put in place, you can actually use this for support purposes. So that someone can actually have you got a sales rep out there, he's having problems with his mobile device, instead of trying to talk him through it, you can actually I can control my device with a mouse. So I can click on any one of these types of applications. It's called Droid VNC. It's what I'm running. If you haven't heard of VNC before, it's actually free software. To do that, I had to root my device. It's extremely risky, okay, to do that. You can actually cause it, but you have to reformat the whole device if rooting it screws it up. But let's go through a few things. First of all, let's talk about Facebook. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search, go to Pages, and guess what? Here's the Great Wolf Systems webpage. So we were talking on my device. So I can see the different things. When we're doing webinars, we talk about GoToMeeting. We actually run GoToMeeting. We run Citrix. You're not going to use that kind of technology here. It really doesn't work well here because it's a different kind of environment. But again, Facebook, you're going to find over time that people will use this device as opposed to that device. The only downside to it is the screen size. It's the really only downside to it. Okay, let's go back home. Let's go look at USA Today. I do not subscribe to the local paper anymore. I get all my news on my smartphone. Everything is coming out of here. I can go look at my, the money pages that are in USA Today. I can see everything I want right here, and I didn't pay a penny. I didn't have to pay for delivery of USA Today. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Let's go to, anybody in here runners? Anybody else? Anybody? I ran this morning. I run. I play soccer. I still play with 25-year-olds. Here's my workout this morning. What this did with it, this has a GPS system. Okay? Oh, no workouts available. I didn't run. All right, let's try it this way. Oh, man. Well, this has, I'll talk about it because I can go somewhere. Yeah, exactly. What I did with this has a GPS system. Anybody have a Garmin system? You can get rid of it with this. Okay? I can actually go on, connect my GPS, And it knows where I am, and I wish I could have brought it up because I was going to show you where I ran today. I went running around the arch, I went around the stadium, and it knows where I ran, it knows how long I ran, it knows how far I ran, it knows my pace, told me how many calories I burned, all based on just running with this device. Okay? Actually, I think my problem is because I'm on wireless and I think it's looking forward on the network through my cell phone. That's the reason I was having a problem. So those were the basic types of applications for the personal. Like I said, I want to make sure I give you guys, got about 15 minutes left here. Okay, I'm in good shape. I want to go back to my PowerPoint. Wrong key. Okay, business application. This is where I want to spend most of my time. Okay, the rest of it all makes this into a toy. Everything other than the infrastructure piece of remote control, this is really kind of a toy is all we've been talking about. So the iPhone is actually better for everything we've just been talking about. If you want to do chat face-to-face on an iPhone, it's great. But now let's talk about we're all business people. That's why we're here, right? Let's talk about using this device now for business applications. Well, calendar. How many people in here use Microsoft Outlook? I imagine almost everybody does. There's a few that probably don't. Do you keep your calendar in Microsoft Outlook?
Yes.
Yes. Do you live and die by it? I live and die by it. I have to have it. Do you synchronize your calendar with your handheld?
Yes.
How? What are the ways you do it?
Now with the Android, it's automatic.
Okay, you're using Android. You cheated. I use my Android. It's automatic. Who else? Yeah.
BlackBerry is automatic as well. But the BlackBerry is automatic as well.
BlackBerry, you're using a BlackBerry Exchange server. You have to have Microsoft Exchange as a server to use that. Okay? It can do it. One of the cool things about this that I like about my Android, and you can do it with BlackBerries and also the iPhone does it as well, is I'll put in an appointment, it automatically updates it in Outlook for me, and vice versa. But the really cool part about Android is because it's tied to Google, it's also tied to my Gmail account, that if I lose either one of them, it's stored out on the cloud. And we talk about cloud computing, it's stored out on the cloud so I don't lose anything. So calendar, contacts, and email. All three of those are vital. BlackBerry is the strongest. Android's taking on very, very, very close second. iPhone struggles at this level. They do really well in some of it, but they really struggle from a business application perspective. And I'll show you some of that. And I'm not going to get too much. Routing. I showed a picture. This is a picture. This I just got an email on. Route application for Android. Remember I talked about the GPS? That's why I brought that up, that running. That's why I actually talked about it. I've got a GPS system. Think about it. Those of you guys that handle the warehouses, or handle, how many people in here have their own trucks, as opposed to using third-party trucks? If you use your own trucks, how do you route them? Do you know where your truck is? Do you have a feel for all that? You can do that with an iPhone. There are lots of routing packages out there, but the kicker to it's going to be, and like I said, this is one I would look at right here. It's from B-Mobile. They're a very strong company in the mobile environment. I don't have that. But realistically, you've got to start taking, instead of it being a toy that you use the GPS, let's take it to actually being an application. And this is the one I want to show you what we've done with an ERP system.
What's the name of that website?
Just B-Mobile. B as in letter B and M-O-B-I-L-E.
Boy?
B as in boy, mobile. Okay? I want to show you something that if you don't have it today from your ERP supplier, you need to get it. Because this is what we've done for SX users. And this is my baby, my soapbox, whatever you want to call it. We wrote an application. We wanted to have it that this truly became a device. We used to call it our mobile application. We now call it SX Lite. And the reason why I call it SX Lite is it gives us all the information in SX that's limited. Why did we go down this path? Is we wanted it to be a functional tool. We originally came out, how many people are familiar with Symbol and Intermec and those kinds of devices? How much do they run? How much do they cost?
$1,800 to $2,500.
Yeah, they're anywhere, I've heard anywhere from about $1,800 to $3,000, depending upon how much memory and all those. What they are is they're very ruggedized devices with a keypad. You can throw them, use them in a warehouse. They have scanners, all kinds of stuff. They're great devices, but they're very expensive. I wanted to write an application to run on this. I wanted it to be, because this now becomes ubiquitous. Just like the internet became that way, now the device is becoming that way, that I want to write it independent. Most applications are written for a specific operating system, the iOS, the Android, or for BlackBerry OS. They write them for the application. All the applications I've shown you so far, that's what they do. They've written them for that environment. What we've done is we've written it browser-based. Okay? And by the way, I don't know why that just did that. Let me just do a refresh, because I think I've got a screen resolution. Okay, that's what I thought. We wrote it browser-based. And the reason why we wrote it browser-based is so that we are device independent. I don't care if you have an Apple, a BlackBerry, an Android. You can have a Palm OS for all I care. We're going to run on that device because it's browser-based. We go ahead, we key in a login. Let's try this again. Okay. Employee. Continue. What this is now doing is it's going back to SX, pulling information out through our set of APIs, and now I can actually go into, for example, customer inquiry, say show, in real time, and I would show this in a regular demo, I would go into my green screen, change the address on the customer, and it would show up on this browser immediately. What are some of the other applications besides what I just did? Well, that's kind of nice that I can see that. But maybe I want to go and do a product inquiry. How many sales reps are out in the field? They've got a product. I'm going to put in a product here. 1-001. And show. It knows for this customer, for this product, for this warehouse, here's my price. And I've got 716 available. Yeah.
Are you doing like a terminal emulation, like a VT 100 or something?
Nope. We're using a browser interface that's calling the information out of SX live. It's cool technology. Yes, ma'am.
We have about 5 minutes left.
Okay, cool. Now, how many people, when they're in a sales rep, hey, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you want to buy 1,000 of them? What's the next question? Then I show I have 716. What's the next question?
Where do I get the other 300?
When am I going to get, when are you going to get the next one? Not where, because you're going to get them from me, right? You're not going to buy it from my competitor. I can go to on order, and it shows me the incoming PO and when it's expected to come in. So not only when am I going to get it, and how many am I going to get when it comes in? What's the ETA? Okay? I'm sorry? We can change that. All right? Place order. Okay, now I've got my shopping list. Go ahead and place the order. Come on. I think my wireless is a little slow right here. Just all of a sudden does it right when I want to do a demo. Anyway, because I only have 5 minutes, it will place the order live, real time. So if I go to any order inquiry, it's there. Okay, there, it just did it. It just says an error occurred. But it did get an order. I've got an order number here, 177. So let's go back to main menu. Let's go to our order inquiry. Let's go ahead and show. Here's our 177, ordered on 9/27. So it's real time. So the guys back in the office are actually seeing this in SX. Here's my point. I'm not trying, again, none of you guys are running SX, so none of you are prospects for me. This is not a sales pitch. My point of this is, this device should not be used as a toy from a business perspective. And the only way to do that is you've got to start making the devices so that they actually call the things that you want for your application for your business. You know, your distributor, most of your distributors, price, availability, what warehouse, place an order, show me my order status, show me my order inquiry, show me what I've got in what warehouse, show me how much I owe. And if you notice, we had a login for both employee and customer. So we could actually let the customer, we have a customer running this, that they are a plumbing distributor, large one out of Wisconsin. If you're out of Wisconsin, you know who I'm talking about. They've actually got plumbers in trucks running this kind of a device. I don't care whether it's an Android or a BlackBerry, whatever. They've got this. They're sitting in their truck. They go to bin location 1. They show that they've got 5. They put in 5. Bin location 2. They put in 6. Bin location 3. They put in 2. Click submit order. It knows how much is supposed to be in each bin location. It places the order in SX. That part shows up at their truck the next day. That truck never goes back to the warehouse. Think about what you can do with these devices. It's only as much as your imagination will ask you to do. That's what I had time for. Now I'm going to open it up to questions or comments. What do you guys think? Missing anything? Tell me where I'm off base. I get on my soapbox a little bit on some of this stuff. Questions? Any questions? Appreciate your time. Hope you have a great time. I'm going to be here through tomorrow, so if you have any questions, you want to talk philosophically about this stuff, track me down. Appreciate your time.